بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. So up to this point, from what I've heard, the discussion and the talks have been very psycho-spiritual in nature. And typically my area of expertise is a little more philosophical. And if you have no idea what those two terms mean, that's okay. So I'm gonna start off by bearing something personal to get in that psycho-spiritual mood where you feel allowed. Is that okay? Yeah. It's a bit embarrassing. I don't know if I've ever shared this on stage, but I'm gonna do it just to kind of clear the air with myself and, you know, be in that kind of that mode of psycho-spirituality. All right, here goes. When my first son was born, and we're talking 18 years ago, so now I'm dating myself here. With my show. Come on. Okay. When he was born, it was my first foray into Islamic studies, meaning I had just started to study Islam at the time. I was in a sense like being, you know, coming back to Islam, in a sense. And I remember, right before he was born, I was studying some of the categories of the Shuhada, those who are martyrs. Now, the day he was born, you know, this is the first born on my side of the family. It's a lot of excitement. So my wife's entire family was at the hospital. This is Virginia. And so my wife's entire family is there. My family's there. And when Abdullah was born, I see him, and I look at my wife, and I say, you know, wouldn't it be awesome if you died during childbirth? Now let me give you some context. Remember, I've been studying the category of the Shuhada. Yani, one of the people that dies is the person who died during childbirth. So mind you, my wife's entire side of the family's there, my entire side of the family's there, and I'm just like, that really didn't go the way it should have gone at all, right? And I'm not explaining myself, but there's no way out of that. So once you're down that path, it's gone, right? Okay, so that's an icebreaker, because I want to speak about who you are. And so when we think about who we are, there's a way to think about it in terms of reflecting upon ourselves, right? Dr. Hamdan mentioned like the mirror and reflecting upon ourselves. But I wanted to go at a certain level that's slightly deeper than that. You see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَكُونُوا الَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ فَأَنسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُم. Do not be like those who forgot Allah, so Allah caused them to forget themselves. Now the thing is, the area that I work in specifically, I deal with a lot of people that have left Islam, ex-Muslims. I deal with a lot of people who are doubting Islam. And I deal with a lot of people that actually want to make dawah and invite people to Islam and deal with people who doubt Islam. In that space, I can tell you, one of the key areas that people sometimes miss out on is that they haven't focused on who they are. And what I mean by that, and again, I'm going to shift gears here, I'm going to go a little philosophical. They haven't thought about what that truly means in terms of who I am and how that's connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the sense that if I ask you, who are you? You may tell me, my name is such and such, my name is Fatima, my name is Muhammad, so on and so forth. But if I said tomorrow, let's say there was some new rule and they said you had to change your name, would that change who you are? Would it? No. Let's give a different example. Let's say, God forbid, will affect all of us, you get into a car accident and you lose an arm. Do you stop being you? I don't think so. You're still, in essence, who you are is who you are. What if you lose your other arm? Are you still you? Yeah. So the question here is now, who are you? What makes you, you? Because when you say, my arm, my nose, my eyes, who's the my in the sentence? What is in philosophical terms, what is your ontological reality? And one of the things is that when we understand who we are, we understand that it's intimately and deeply and dynamically connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Going back to the ayah, do not be like those who forgot Allah, so Allah caused them to forget themselves. You know, if you think about it, who is the quintessential example of someone that's forgotten Allah? You can say, let's say an atheist. But does an atheist get up in the morning and forget to brush their teeth because they forgot themselves? Do they forget to, like, you know, I don't know, have ambitions to go to college, get a new job? It's none of that. So So what does this ayah specifically mean? What it means is that when a person has forgotten who they are in relation to Allah, in essence they have forgotten Allah, they have forgotten themselves. Alright, let me highlight that a little bit more. Dr. Hamdan, a little bit earlier, she mentioned a certain saying, and the saying was, Man arafa nafsahu arafa Allah. The one who knows themselves knows their Lord. And this is what I wanted to spend a few moments reflecting upon. Because, you see, there have been many commentaries on this very statement. And this particular statement, even though some people attribute it as a hadith, it's not a hadith, but it's attributed to various people. One attribution is Ali ibn Abi Talib, another attribution is so and so forth, but there were commentaries on it. I wanted to explore just for a few minutes some of the statements that are made by Ibn Taymiyyah or people. Ibn Taymiyyah says, when understanding this particular hadith, he says there's three main ways of this particular statement, three main ways of understanding this. Number one, he says, is i'tibā. You understand things about yourself, life, and for instance, you understand things about life, you understand things about yourself, and such you understand Allah. So you understand the concept of life, and therefore you understand that Allah is al-Hayy. If you didn't understand intimately the concept of life, how could you understand that Allah is ever living? That's number one. Number two, he says that there's a comparison, right? A muqabala. You understand your limited nature, and you understand Allah's unlimited nature. Because you understand your own limits, you understand that Allah is limitless. And finally, he says, he says, your ajaz. In other words, you can't even understand yourself fully in terms of what is the reality of yourself. How can you possibly understand the absolute reality of Allah? And I want to stop here for a moment. When we think about ourselves, think about something like your consciousness. Right now, you are listening to me here. You're listening to me speak. But now, is the listening just a simple mechanical function of sound waves that are going into your ear, hitting an eardrum, and that's it? Or is there something deeper inside of yourself that is listening to me, that's not related to the material body that you have? It's something much deeper. You have an inner personal experience all the time. For instance, you could eat a chocolate cake, and you could tell me this is what the chocolate cake tastes like. But I could never know what it's like for you to have a chocolate cake directly. In other words, you have a first-person experience that is intimate and yours, only yours. No one else can have access to that. The most you can do is tell someone, the chocolate cake was good, it was chocolatey, it would taste sweet, and so on and so forth. But that first-person experience is only yours. Now, in terms of your own consciousness, there's a gap in understanding even that. Scientists call this the hard problem of consciousness. You have physical brain cells, and then you have a reality inside of yourself. How do you bridge the link? It's a deep philosophical question, which we're not going to get into now. Point being is we don't even understand our own true reality, let alone when it comes to the reality of the divine, the essence of the divine. So, Ibn Taymiyyah, he mentioned that this last point is ajaz. In other words, it's an inability. And as such, when the person understands themselves, they're able to have a deeper connection with the divine. Now, when there's another ayah in the Quran that I wanted to look at, and again, it's related to the self. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ. We will show them our signs in the horizons, in the cosmos, and in themselves. And you know what I always hear? I always see, I don't know if you see my YouTube videos, where they mention this ayah, and they show you all these interesting, things that like NASA satellite images and things like that. How many people have seen that? Right? See those YouTube videos? And they always focus on the first part of this ayah. سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ. Right? We will show them our signs in the cosmos. And if this ayah doesn't continue and say, وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ, and then in themselves. Two things here. When you think about yourself, when I think of myself as that young person who had a firstborn child and said, man, it'd be great if you died, and who I am today, you are always discovering things about yourself. You are always and what you thought thought you knew at the age of 15 is completely different than what you knew at the age of 20, 25, 30, 40. You're always discovering things about yourself. What's phenomenal about this particular ayah is that there's a scene in front of the ayah, meaning it's always in the future tense. Whenever you read this ayah, it is always, we will show them signs in the horizon and in themselves. You are always discovering things about yourself. And that's why you have signs that connect you with the divine on a level that you can't even imagine. What happens is when you have young people that are going through, let's say, certain philosophical issues, they tend to think that my way to understanding the divine is just cognitive. In the sense that it's some sort of cold, cerebral syllogism. If I can just prove the existence of God by way of some logical argument, boom, I'll get there. When the reality is that it's much deeper than that. If you think about a concept like beauty, when you look at something and you appreciate beauty, you have to understand that's not a logical argument. Like I wouldn't like if I go with my wife and go see a sunset, and she says, and I say, wow, that's beautiful. I mean, I wouldn't expect her to say, actually, that's really ugly. Give me a logical, rational argument to prove to me that that sunset is beautiful. Why? Because there's a deeper, inner, personal experience of beauty. And you see this even with the Quran. When you and I, when we engage with the Quran, many times we engage in this format where we're looking for some sort of an answer that's very, again, cerebral, cold, and logical. But Allah knows you better than you know yourself. And so I want to give an example, compare two types of writing, let's say, two types of literature. You have something that's known as prose and something known as poetry. It's going to highlight this point about yourself and recognizing yourself. When you think about prose, you can think about something that is going to give you information in the most efficient and effective manner. So think about an organic chemistry textbook. Alright? You're going to go, you're going to study for your exam, and once you pass your exam, you will take that textbook and probably sell it, send it off somewhere, because you never want to visit that textbook again, right? After you pass the exam. Think about something like poetry, however. When you come and you experience a beautiful poem, you want to go back and understand there are deeper levels of meaning. It's not something you read once and then that's it because you're extracting information. You're actually enjoying the experience. There's a pleasure that you have that you can't really quantify. I'll give you an example in terms of rhetoric. We talk about rhetoric, and then those who study Arabic, there's a science called balagha. And it seems very distant for the English speaker. Like, how do I understand? Let me give you a quick example that kind of bridge the gap. How many people have heard the saying, Bond, James Bond? Yeah? Okay. They say that is the most, that is the greatest one-liner in all of cinematic history. Now, I want to ask you something. What piece of information are you getting? What pearls of wisdom are coming down? Like, what are you getting? The guy is simply walking the room and telling you his name. Right? He could have said it in a million different ways. He could have said, first name James, last name Bond. He could have said, James Bond. In fact, when Ian Fleming was interviewed about the name of the character, the author of the James Bond series, he said, I wanted to choose a name that was the most boring name I could think of. Because I wanted the events around the character to be highlighted, not the character itself. Okay? Why is it, when you hear the statement, Bond, James Bond, there's some bravado to it, there's something to it. Because this is a rhetorical device that's been known for a long time in the English language. It's called a diachrone. And this statement goes A-B-A, home, sweet home, bird, baby bird. You hear all this, right? So those statements are not, they're not giving us deep items of wisdom. But there's something that gives us a type of pleasure that we cannot quantify. We can't now take and make it into some sort of deep syllogism or some logical argument. And what happens is that when we view the world like this, which many young people do, you find a disconnect from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number one, they're not appreciative of the Quranic narrative. Because the Quran doesn't work in terms of, diacritical arguments. You'll notice when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks, he doesn't say premise A, premise B, conclusion C. It doesn't work like that. He's giving you, subhanahu wa ta'ala, he knows you better than you know yourself. So he's giving you information that's the most effective in a form that also has beauty related to it. And it's absolutely amazing. Once we detach ourselves from that, you find that it's very difficult to bridge that gap to make our path to the divine, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one of the first things that we explore, there's a certain service that we run called Lighthouse Mentoring. And this is a free service. You can log on for a 1-hour session, free. If you're having doubts about Islam, if you know someone having doubts about Islam, ex-Muslims, whatever it might be. And subhanAllah, just to show you the demand, the first year we opened it, 2 years ago, was the month of Ramadan. And as soon as we opened it, we did a soft launch. It was booked for 7 months. Like, people couldn't get this trip, obviously because we have limited, human, natural resources and so on and so forth. Point being, is that one of the first things we do is break down what it is to be yourself, exploring yourself, and then what it means in terms of who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. It's one of the first places we go. Because if we haven't understood ourselves in a way that's deeper than just our cognitive senses, it becomes very difficult to go beyond that and connect with the divine. So, there was one aspect that I thought was very interesting when it comes to understanding this link, and what I would call it like a missing link. The missing link between the divine and you understanding yourself from this, again, ontological statement, like your being, your essence. Because once you've understood who you are, then what are you at the end of the day? You are a combination of not only your material body, but you also have a spiritual reality. And that reality comes to the fore in none other than the month of Ramadan. And I'll tell you how. You see, in the month of Ramadan, the Prophet ﷺ tells us that the one who fasts, right? Iman wa ihtisab, his sins will be forgiven. But there's another narration that says the one who stands, Iman wa ihtisab, his sins will be forgiven. Okay? It's like this two-pronged approach that the Prophet ﷺ is making, in the sense that you have standing at night and fasting in the day. I wanted to highlight this for a second. Understand, if we have a two-pronged approach to the month and what the Prophet is saying, we have a two-pronged approach to us as human beings. We have a spiritual reality and a bodily reality. And part of the bodily reality is where our desires are housed. If you think about animals, they have the desire to eat and sleep and intimate relations and all those things. But desires in of themselves are blind, right? You never see a lion chasing down a gazelle, and in the middle of the hunt, the gazelle says, "Stop! What I find you doing is more than reprehensible. Please stop." You don't see that. The human being has that, though. Why? Because the human being has a ruh, has a soul, which you can make moral distinctions. And as such, you can control the desires of the body. So as the Nisa mentions, that you can say that you have angels that have no choice in the sense that whatever Allah says, they obey that. Animals are more of an instinct in the sense whatever Allah says, they obey that. It is only the human being that when he obeys Allah, he can transcend the status of angels. And when he succumbs to his desires, he falls below even the animals. SubhanAllah. So why am I tying this to the month of Ramadan? Because you see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the ruh, right? Yes, I know that ruh. They ask you concerning the ruh. Say, say that the ruh is from the amr of Allah, from the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, how does Allah issue commands? He issues by what? He says, Qul fayakun, by His word. When you think about the body, you need sustenance. Where does that sustenance come from? It comes from the source of the body. Like the body is made from earth, from steam, and so on and so forth. That's the earth. When you want to eat food, you're not going to go to outer space. You're going to basically get it from the earth. What's the opposite of what it's made out of? So that's where it gets its sustenance. What about the ruh? Where does it get its sustenance from? it gets its sustenance from the honor of Allah, right? And how do we have access to that command? Of course, because those commands are given by the way of the kalam of Allah. And where to get its sustenance? From the Quran. So when the Prophet said, the month of Ramadan is that month where you're fasting during the day and your sins will be forgiven, and you're standing in prayer at night because you are getting a spiritual sustenance. At the same time, you're weakening that body. Think of it like a horse. You know, you have the horse, which is your body, and the ruh, the soul, which is the rider. 11 months out of the year, you're feeding this horse like crazy. So it's taking you wherever it wants to go. But 1 month out of the year, Allah tells you, stop feeding the horse and start feeding the rider. So the rider becomes strong, and now it's able to control where that horse is going. And so when you think of that, again, it goes back to understanding who we are and understanding our relationship to the divine that's not just limited to kind of superficial elements at the end of the day. Understanding that becomes key in what I was saying earlier about the living way. Now I need to speak briefly about culture and how that ties into all of this. Because many times we get in this conversation about what does it mean to be a Muslim and what does it mean to be an American. Because if you look at the schedule, you'll see that I didn't speak about that. So people scratch their heads, wait a minute, where are you going with this? The first part is about understanding that your primary identity is attached to the divine. You cannot divorce this identity. You can't jettison the identity and say, you know what, it's not important, it doesn't matter. It is part and parcel of you. It's not only part and parcel of you, it's part and parcel of every single human being. Because the Prophet ﷺ tells us, every child is born upon the fitrah. And then his parents make him a Jew, or a Christian, or an Asian. And that hadith is absolutely phenomenal. Because when you have an assumption about somebody else, speaking about how we're supposed to be in terms of our character, you have to assume that person is good before you assume things that are negative about this person. I remember some time ago, I had visited New Zealand, and this was right after the shootings in Christchurch. And it was a really difficult time. And I remember and subhanAllah, just being kind of a backdrop, after those shootings happened, they had almost 500 to 600 people visiting those two masajid every day. Now imagine the people who have gone through all of that trauma. How are they going to now deal with all of these people coming to masjid? So alhamdulillah, Allah gave me the opportunity to go and speak to people there. I remember there was this one person I spoke to, and I told them about this idea that, our assumption as Muslims is that every human being at their core is good. That's our assumption. Before we assume anything else, we assume people are good. Because we have this concept of the fitrah, that natural, that human nature, if you want the technical term, the original normative disposition, I won't get into that. You can ask me about that later, okay? That human nature, that primordial nature, that we say every human is born in a state of goodness. And you know what she told me? Because I mentioned that, look, I don't think that's the case in Christianity. I said, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that the belief in the original sin? And under the original sin, the idea is that everyone is born in a state of sin, in a state of evil. And so I said, imagine now that you see a newborn child, you never look at a newborn child and say, look at that simple little brat. You look at the child and say, look at that innocent child. And I say, what the Islamic paradigm does for us, it connects us with our very nature, with what it means to be a human being. So when we see a child, we're justified by saying that child is innocent and pure and good. Why I'm saying this, and why I'm highlighting, by the way, that lady, she said, this is the first time that this is clarified for me. My entire life, having been raised a Christian, I never made sense of how we could assume a child is evil. And it's clarified that for me. Anyway, when it comes down to it, the point is that your Islamic identity takes primacy over any other cultural identity that you have. Not because it's just me being arrogant and me saying, oh, Islam's the best, yay, rah, rah. It's because that's what every human being is born upon. It's not a matter of right or wrong in this sort of binary. It's in the sense that truth and meaning is part of Islam, whereas untruth and meaninglessness is outside of Islam. When you think about culture, you find that culture is a number of people upon the fitrah that have come together and established certain norms. Some of those norms are good, and some of those norms may not be so good. And that's why it's really fascinating when you see that Prophet ﷺ in the hadith where he says, I have been sent, I've only been sent to complete or perfect good morals. Why didn't he say, I came to teach you good morals? Because the base stage is we have an intrinsic, intuitive sense of what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong, that permeates throughout culture. And so the Prophet is as if he's saying, you're already on a good state, I'm just here to fix a few things. And how does he do that? By way of revelation. Your Islamic identity is primary. And other elements, when we talk about Americanness, or Pakistaniness, or Egyptianness, or whatever have you, those will always come secondary. But you don't just generate them. You don't just ignore them. Because understanding who we are as human beings means that we have a collective understanding of who we are as human beings. And that collective understanding is enhanced at its apex, at its highest point, when the person connects with the divine. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he mentions about our ummah, he says, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. Indeed, we have made you this nation that is the middle nation. That's usually how it's translated. But in fact, it's a middle nation, but it's at the highest point. It's like a mountain peak. If you look at the mountain from the top, it has a peak, right? So it's in the center, in a sense. That is what the Muslim nation is. It is, when looking upon all of these beings that are upon the fitrah, Allah has guided you to be at the peak in the middle, without excessiveness. So connecting with oneself becomes important in connecting with your society, and understanding yourself means understanding the culture and specific ramifications of adopting certain practices in your culture and ignoring other practices in your culture. And what is the standard by which you do that? It is the lens of Islam. One final point I'll conclude with that. This concept that is mentioned, the lens of Islam, my wife said don't go too far into this, so I'm gonna make it really quick, inshallah. She's not here. Anyway, this lens of Islam, a lot of times we assume that Islam is simply a religion. And if I ask you, is Islam a religion? Many of you might say, yeah, Islam's a religion. But now here's the thing, if I ask you, is feminism a religion? You might say, wait a minute. Of course not. Feminism is not a religion. But now if I ask you, let me ask you something very controversial, and this is probably why she told me not to mention this, but I won't be leaving after this, inshallah. Should a woman have rights? Yes. Yes. Okay, now here's another question. Why should a woman have rights? What do you think? Why should a woman have rights? Just one person. Why should a woman have rights? She's a human being. She's a human being. Alright. Why should a woman have rights? Why should a woman have rights? Allah gave it to her. Okay. Imagine that you didn't have Allah in the picture. How would you substantiate a woman having rights? If there's no connection to herself and the divine. Because then you have to say, well, we have to give self-service to a justification. What is the justification that is typically made? That justification, which runs throughout society, is the justification of self-ownership. And how does that work? If you ever see like those placards that are outside of the abortion clinics and so on and so forth, my body, my choice, that is fundamentally antagonist to the Islamic worldview. Why? Because if you ever go to a funeral, what is on the lips of every person? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We belong to Allah, right? We don't own ourselves. And even if you try to justify self-ownership, how would you do that? Is there someone more merciful than Allah? Is that you? No. Is there someone more knowledgeable than Allah? Is that you? No. Is there a better Lord than Allah? No. Right? And so, therefore, when we understand this very concept of Islam and we simply put it in a conceptual domain and say, oh, it's just a religion, we don't allow a fair comparison to many ideas that are prevalent in society today. And those ideas start to creep in and start to cause doubts in the minds of young people. So the first place you go to is them understanding themselves, understanding the connection with the divine, and understanding what is the reality of society and how does that reality differ. By simply saying Islam is a religion, you have done a disservice. And by the way, I'm not saying Islam is a religion in the sense, obviously for political expediency we say that. But a better understanding of Islam would be that Islam is a worldview. It's a comprehensive view of reality. And every single person has a worldview, just like every person has a language. You cannot just do away with a language, right? You can't just not speak or not have a language, or have your own language in your head. It doesn't work. Just like that, every person has a worldview. And if every person has a worldview, you have the Islamic worldview, and then you have other worldviews. That understanding of Islam allows you to do a fair comparison to the society around you when you are comparing this element of my culture is good and this element of my culture is bad. A fair comparison is only when you understood Islam as the very lenses by which you look at reality. And the only way to understand that is understand that your true self